Hello, Dr. Leah Mazzola here, founder and executive director of Youth Coaching Institute. Just taking a few minutes to introduce myself for those of you who may be researching YCI to make a decision about whether or not to pursue our training programs, and also for those of you who are beginning your training journey with us. Our class 1 is all about trainee introductions, faculty introductions, getting to know one another so that we can create a sense of psychological safety within our groups. And this video is my stand-in for those classes who I might not be able to be present with for class 1. So just to give a little bit of background about me, I grew up one of 7 kids in a low-income household in high-risk areas, experienced all 10 adverse childhood experiences currently assessed. Some of the major traumas occurred during my adolescence. When I was 12, I lost a 16-year-old brother and cousin to homicide. They were murdered by 17 and 18-year-old peers. I lost a 16-year-old brother to a 20-year prison sentence at that time, a 16-year-old cousin to suicide, and another one of my brothers struggles with severe mental illness. I, at 12, began engaging in all types of delinquency, and heavy substance abuse was standard for 5 years from the ages of 12 to 17. Basically spent all of my time just doing everything that I could to escape all that I was experiencing at that time, and experienced my own overdose at 16 as well. That did not even slow me down. At 17, I just had a moment of reflection and just kind of thought back to consider everything that was my reality at that time, and had that moment where I thought to myself that I knew every single worst case scenario. They were all directly within my immediate or extended family and friend groups at that point, and just decided to do something different for myself. In that moment, I made a choice, and it was a split second moment, that decision that I'm going to create something better. And basically fell off the map at that point, separated from every single one of my closest friends at the time, moved to another area, went and got a job at a bank at 18, and spent my time focusing on paying attention to what my peers who were employed there were doing, learning from my supervisors, my leaders at that time, using my outsight to just gather information to learn how to modify my behavior to create a better life for myself. And through doing all of that, was able to secure a safe, stable, and positive home life for myself. And I also had a son at 19, and by 21, I was able to buy our first home. And the life that we lived was just like such a beautiful polarity from what I grew up in, that, I had another aha moment about 5 years on the other side of that, wondering how it was possible that I was able to make it out and so many who I loved had not. And it was at that point that I decided to go back to school. I had dropped out of high school in the 11th grade. And this was probably, I was about 24 when I decided to go back to school. I got my GED somewhere around that time, and pursued my higher education in criminal justice initially for my bachelor's, because I wanted to understand how I made it out and how to reach back out to support other young people who are struggling in similar ways. But while studying criminal justice, I determined that I had no interest in being part of a system that was really just perpetuating the problem. And at that point, decided to study psychology, because I wanted to understand why people fell into problem behavior in the first place, so that I could intervene to help them to make the positive transition that I had away from that. So through my psychology education, I basically found what was like just all the neon lights lit up from end to end. All of the information that explained why people fall into problem behavior and why those who don't, and just the most basic fact that problem behavior is typically a result of our most basic human needs not being met. And those needs are general across the board, regardless of who we are, where we come from, what our situations are. Some of us simply have access to the resources to meet them, and some don't. And while going through all of the research to understand how I could go back and support young people to make this positive transformation for themselves, I found coaching. And when I found coaching, it was like all the alignment that could possibly click. Merging psychology and coaching, it was like stepping into my power. It was the most exciting thing that I had ever experienced in my professional life. And to this day, every time that I get to go into a coaching session or into a training session where I get to apply those two things, I leave just completely alive in a way that nothing else in my life has ever felt. I'm utterly grateful for this platform through YCI to get to connect with other like-minded adults out there who have overcome their own struggles and built this beautiful, successful life for themselves on the other side, who care to now equip themselves to reach back and support other struggling young people to do the same. I was a first generation college student who, again, dropped out of high school in the 11th grade and now have a PhD in psychology. That is a significant achievement. But my greatest achievement is that I was able to break the cycle of poverty, criminality, abuse, and trauma for my own kids, to create a household that is safe, secure, supported, and loving. And that is the real life work, the deep, meaningful stuff that we're here to equip our clients to be able to do, to tap into the resources within them, to build the strengths that they already have, to build skills, to be able to create their own safety and security from the inside out, so as to ensure that they are able to live healthy and well on the other side of whatever it is that they're working through today. So I am grateful for your presence and for you taking the time to watch this.